Welcome back, guys. It's your friendly neighborhood Kovacs fiend, NotoriousDuB. I'm currently ranked 22 on Hella with multiple top 10s on Kovacs, and I want to make you a better aimer in Marvel Rivals. Regardless of whether you're on console or PC, we're going to start with the absolute beginner must-dos, down to the most important things to work on going forward. And we're going to finish with the optimal sensitivities and crosshairs at the end. And this will be paired with an advanced Hella guide, followed by an advanced aim guide afterwards, so subscribe for that, and drop a like for the small creator. Now, I'm a science-based guy due to my credentials in athlete development, so I have to throw a little in here to make it all make sense. What if I told you that the goal for aim training wasn't actually to get good at aiming? The goal is actually to make your aim automatic. When learning a skill movement, there are three phases to the development. The cognitive phase, which is the development of the basic movement pattern. This is inconsistent performance and quick gains. There's the associative phase. This is the refining of the movement pattern. There's less errors and you're able to combine this action with another thing, if that makes sense. And then there's the autonomous phase. This is what you're going for. This is where it's almost automatic. Performance is more consistent and smooth with less errors. But the most important thing is that the skill is now instinctual, meaning it takes up as close to zero brain power as possible. Multitasking is a myth. You only actually have 100% brain power, and the things you focus on take a certain amount of that brain power. By getting your aim to where it takes 0% of your brain power, you're able to actually see the game. And that's when it starts to get really fun and improvement comes quick after that. Starting off, don't overcomplicate it. Just start with the fundamentals. This is what's going to prevent plateaus. If you're new to the game, just load into the practice range and get 50 kills with headshots. The trick to developing a skill is to start with the fundamentals. You shouldn't start your basketball career learning to shoot threes, and you shouldn't start your aim development with lightning fast flicks, if you can even manage that. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. When developing good fundamentals for aiming, you want straight lines from your resting place to your target with no sweeping motions, no crescent shapes, stopping directly on the target without overshooting or undershooting. And the practice range is the best place to start developing this because there are no other factors to distract you. By doing this, you know exactly how it feels to shoot perfect shots, and that is step 1 to great aim. Step 2 to great aim is an efficient warm-up. Not warming up is the water slide into a lake of plateaus, because in-game, there's too much going on to actually focus on your aim. And bad habits develop because your fundamentals are off and you don't have enough spare brain power, like we talked about earlier, to focus on correcting your aim patterns. And your warm-up doesn't have to be anything crazy. That fundamental shooting that I talked about earlier is perfect for beginners. But here are a couple of other options. If your main goal right now is tracking development, which it probably should be for Marvel Rivals, pick your character of choice and walk circles around a target in the practice range. Your one goal is to maintain crosshair placement on the target's head perfectly. The closer you are, the more difficult this task is going to be, and start moving erratically when you get better and better to make it a little bit more difficult on yourself. And the third warm-up I'd recommend is just flyer headshots. We are in a flyer meta right now, so this has a little added benefit, but this is more for the more advanced players because it is a little bit more difficult, but the goal is to headshot the flyer, simple enough. And for an added benefit, this is the key to it, focus on micro-tracking the target for a tiny little bit before shooting the shot. That way you incorporate the flick, the track, and the micro-correction all in one synchronized warm-up. And that's 3 warm-ups, no matter what your skill is, and 3 to 5 minutes is just plenty to sync your eyes and hands, get your synapses firing, and your muscle memory dialed in so you can actually start improving for the day. Now don't get me wrong, all aim patterns are very important, especially in a complicated game like Marvel Rivals. But truth be told, tracking is the king above all in Rivals because of a thing the aim community dubs micro-correcting. Micro-correcting is that small little middle ground where the flick meets the track. And those small adjustments are made to either get to the enemy's hitbox or stay on the enemy's hitbox on a very small scale. And developing this skill truly is the key to skyrocketing that accuracy stat and improving your uptime. And it's developed much more by tracking than it is by flicking. So do yourself a favor, in your aim training, just start with tracking. In the practice range, focus on the moving targets and take a small second to lock on their hitbox a little bit before firing. I'm ranked 22 on Hella, whatever that means, and take it from me, I even track on Hella more often than I'm flicking, so take it nice and slow. And I mean that literally. Put your bots on slow until you get used to it, medium whenever slow is easy, and when you're really getting the hang of it, you can dial it up to fast. Just don't progress too early. Fundamental aiming was at the beginning of this video for a reason. It's better to have good fundamentals and think it's easy than to develop bad habits thinking you're pushing yourself. And there's one more thing that really separates casual aimers from the elite, and that's the ability to hard focus. And that's the key. Aim small, miss small. The goal is to be able to hyper-focus on your target and take in the game information with your peripheral vision instead of looking at the game from a zoomed out perspective and shooting your target with an unfocused lens. There are two ways to do this. Type FPS Eye Trainer on YouTube and give it a shot, or head to the custom games, load in with all easy bots, and pick one person to focus on specifically. When you're doing this, just kind of let everything else fade into the background and position yourself with a little flow, but focus all of your attention solely on your target. You're probably going to die, even against the easy bots, a few times, but who cares? Over time, you're going to be able to hard focus on your target more effectively, and just as importantly, you're going to be able to take in a ton more information peripherally, and positioning and dodging will get far easier as well because you're going to start to do that instinctively. And we absolutely have to go over sensitivity because for some reason this is still a hot button topic in Marvel Rivals. This infographic was compiled by Cinny of Voltaic's community, and the beauty of it is that the Overwatch statistics are exclusively taken from the hit scan DPS players, meaning the people that really need to focus on their aim. And since this is an aim video, that's the stat block we're looking at. And the average range is 25 centimeters or 10 inches per 360 to 45 centimeters or 18 inches per 360. This is how far you move your mouse to physically do a 360 in game. So the overlap would mean that these sensitivities are somewhere near the average for pro Marvel Rivals players or Overwatch that really rely on long range hit scan DPSs like Punisher and Hela. And I'll have all of these calculated out for you in a quick infographic so you can take a look at it on screen, but for the slow end of Rivals Pros, you're looking at about 1100 EDPI, and fast would be around 2000 EDPI. And EDPI is just when you take your mouse's DPI setting and multiply it with your in-game sensitivity setting to get a universal number you can compare to everyone else. As far as console goes, faster is always better because bottoming out your analog stick is the equivalent of us moving our mouse faster, and you can control the slower end of it. But you should make sure your micro corrections around 40 meters are able to be very consistent with your sensitivity because stick drift is going to be your limiting factor there. But all of this also means if you play closer range heroes like Star-Lord and Psylocke, you can actually go even higher or just on the high end. And if you're a tank player or a melee character, you could go even higher than that, with a lot of people going into the 3000 EDPI range and even fewer somehow managing to make 4000 EDPI work. Disclaimer, everyone has different comfortability scales, and I'm sure anyone can make anything work with enough practice. We've seen some crazy outliers. These are just the most common that pros make work. And of course, we have to talk about the crosshair. And it may actually seem like a little bit of a nothing burger, but there is a little bit of a nuance behind it that comes from the Counter-Strike community. First and foremost, when starting out, you want a crosshair that you're not losing track of, and it seems like the general consensus on the most standout color in Marvel Rivals is green. You also want a little bit of bulk to it, so it's obviously visible, but creating a little bit of a gap in the cross allows you a little bit of eye freedom. This is all from Counter-Strike's obsession with crosshairs, and something like this was always considered optimal. Once you start getting to the more advanced stages and aiming becomes second nature, you can then swap over to the dot that a lot of people use because you know where the crosshair is, and just because you're so comfortable with the center of your screen, but crosshairs are even more personal preference than sensitivities are. So I'll leave a few codes in the descriptions and comments just so you can go through them on your own. And if you made it this far in the video, you're the GOAT. Drop your current sensitivities in the comments and let me know if you like improvement content like this. Have a great day, and thanks for being here. Peace!